The energy pits, the desert sky burned red, like fire painted across the horizon. Heat rose from the cracked ground, and the smell of smoke and ash filled the air. At the center of the desert stood the pit's giant stone circles that dropped deep into the earth, glowing with terrible light. The aliens called them furnaces of power. The people called them the energy pits. Here, the weak and unwanted were thrown alive into the flames. Their bodies were turned into raw energy to feed the machines of the Empire. It was a cruel system. It kept the cities glowing with power, while villages lived in fear, knowing that one day they might be taken to the pits. A crowd gathered, shackled. Prisoners were pushed forward, their faces pale, their voices silent. Nobody screamed. Everyone knew that screaming only pleased the guards. The girl was among them. Her wrists were bound with iron cuffs, her clothes torn, dust covering her face. She was young, maybe no more than 20, and her eyes carried both fear and defiance. She had been caught stealing a single jar of water from the council's storehouse. For that, she was marked to burn. One by one, the prisoners were shoved closer to the pit. The fire below roared, hungry, like it could smell the fear of those above it. When each prisoner was dropped, a blast of light shot into the sky, and the crowd gasped. That light meant more power for the Empire. The human stood at the edge of the crowd. He wasn't from this world. His uniform was torn, his boots covered in dust. He had come here searching for survivors, but what he found was worse than any battlefield he had seen. He had fought in wars before, but this was not war. This was slaughter dressed as ceremony. He clenched his fists. He wanted to stop it, but one man against so many soldiers? The guards were armed, their armor thick, their weapons humming with power. The human could only watch, anger burning inside him. The line moved forward. The girl was next. 2 guards dragged her by the arms, their claws digging into her skin. She stumbled, but did not fall. She stared at the pit, the fire reflecting in her eyes. For a moment, she looked ready to accept her fate. The crowd was silent, watching, waiting for another burst of light to feed their masters. The guard lifted her and moved to throw her into the pit. And that was when she saw him, the human in the crowd. He stood taller than the villagers, his jaw tight, his eyes sharp. Something in her heart told her he was different. Desperate, she twisted in the guard's grip. She stretched out her hand, breaking the silence. Her fingers brushed against his. Her grip was weak, trembling, but it was real. Then she whispered, "Save me." The words were so soft only he could hear them. Yet they hit him harder than any weapon ever had. The human's heart pounded. His mind screamed, "Stay silent," but his blood boiled with rage. The Empire burned people alive for water. Children, women, innocents. And now this girl, this stranger, was about to be erased. He stepped forward, closer to the guards. "Stop." The single word cut through the air. The guards froze, surprised that anyone dared to speak. The crowd gasped. Villagers shrank back in fear. Nobody ever defied the pitmasters. The lead guard snarled, his voice like metal grinding. "Outsider, leave, or you will join her." The human did not move. His hand was still locked with hers. Her eyes begged him, silently pleading, "Save me." The words echoed in his mind again. He knew if he stayed silent, she would die. And if he spoke again, the entire empire would turn against him. The fire roared below, waiting for her body. The guard raised his weapon, pointing it at the human. The other soldiers surrounded him, their eyes cold, their armor shining in the red light. The human tightened his jaw. His fingers curled around the girl's hand, holding it firmly now. He had fought enemies before. He had seen death before. But something about this moment was different. That it wasn't just about saving her. It was about ending this horror. He stepped forward, pulling her closer. The crowd whispered in fear. The guards hissed and aimed their weapons. The commander of the pit gave the order, "Kill him, then burn them both." The human's eyes narrowed. His pulse slowed, calm in the face of fire. He whispered back to her, just loud enough for her to hear, "I'll save you." And then, for the first time in years, the energy pit saw something new. Not silence, not fear, but defiance. The guards moved to strike. The human's free hand reached for the weapon strapped across his back. The crowd held its breath. The fire roared louder, and the story of rebellion began. The whisper. They changed everything. The pit commander's voice still echoed. In the air, "Kill him, then burn them both." The guards raised their weapons, metal tips glowing with deadly heat. The crowd gasped, but no one dared to move. Villagers lowered their eyes, praying not to be noticed. For them, it was already over. The outsider had sealed his fate, but the human did not step back. His grip on the girl's hand tightened, and his eyes turned sharp. Steady. The guard nearest him lunged forward, swinging his blade. The human moved faster. In one quick motion, he drew the weapon from his back, a black steel rifle, old and scarred, but still alive with power. The shot cracked like thunder. The guard dropped instantly, his armor smoking, his weapon clattering to the stone floor. The crowd gasped again, louder this time. They had never seen anyone strike a pit guard and live. The girl's breath caught in her throat. She had whispered for help, but she never truly believed anyone would answer. Now, here he was fighting against an empire, just for her. The other. Guards hissed in rage, their eyes glowing as they aimed their weapons at him. The human shoved the girl behind him. "Stay down," he growled. Bolts of red energy shot through the air. The human ducked, rolled, and fired again. 2 more guards fell, armor cracked open, smoke rising from their wounds. The crowd began to murmur. For the first time, they saw the pit soldiers bleed. For the first time, the Empire's power did not look unbreakable. The commander snarled from his high seat, "Outsider, you dare defy us? You will feed the flames." The human didn't answer. He pulled the girl to her feet. "We run," he said, voice low but firm. She hesitated, staring at the flames, at the crowd, at the guards that still stood. Running meant death, but staying meant burning. She nodded. Together, they sprinted across the stone floor. The crowd parted in fear as the human shoved through. The girl stumbled, but he held her steady, his arms strong around her. The guards gave chase. Their boots pounded the ground, their weapons flashing, shots cutting into the air. The humans' rifle barked again, keeping them at bay. One villager whispered to another, "He's mad, but he fights like no one we've seen." Another whispered back, "Maybe he can win." The girl's heart raced as they reached the edge of the pit. Square. Ahead, narrow tunnels cut into the desert rock. They were escape routes, but also traps. The guards knew every path, every turn. "Go!" The human shouted, pulling her into one. The tunnel was dark, damp, smelling of ash and iron. Their footsteps echoed as they ran. Behind them, the guards followed, their growls and shouts bouncing off the walls. The girl struggled to keep up, her lungs burning. "Why? Why are you doing this?" She gasped. The human didn't slow. His voice was steady, cold. "Because I couldn't watch anymore." She stared at him even as they ran. His face was hard, scarred by battles. His eyes were sharp, filled with both pain and fire. He wasn't just saving her. He was making a stand. The tunnel split into 2 paths. The human stopped, breathing heavy. He glanced down each way, listening. The girl tugged his arm. "Left leads to the ash fields. Right leads back to the city." "Then left," he said quickly. But before they could move, light filled the tunnel. Guards appeared at both ends. Weapons ready. The girl froze. We're trapped. The human stepped forward, rifle in hand. He didn't look afraid. He looked ready. The commander's voice boomed from behind the guards. There is no escape. Outsider, drop your weapon. We'll burn you first, and then her. The guards tightened their circle, ready to strike. The girl trembled. She thought of the pit, the flames, the pain. Her whisper came again, soft but filled. With desperate hope, save me. The human's jaw clenched. His finger curled on the trigger. His eyes scanned the tunnel walls, the ceiling, the ground, and then he saw at cracks in the ceiling, loose stone waiting to fall. He fired not at the guards, but at the ceiling. The blast shook the tunnel. Rocks tumbled down, dust filling the air. Guards shouted in shock as the ceiling collapsed, blocking the path behind them. The human grabbed the girl's hand. Now we run. Together, they sprinted into the ash fields, the flames of the pit still burning behind them. But even as they escaped, the girl knew one truth. The Empire would not forget this, and the rebellion had just begun. Escaped through the ash fields. The ash fields stretched wide before them, an endless land of black dust and broken stone. The ground was cracked and sharp, still glowing faintly from old fires. The air was thick, smoky, and hard to breathe. Girl coughed, stumbling as her feet sank into the loose ash. We can't cross this, she said, her voice shaking. It goes on forever. The human held her arm tight and pulled her forward. His eyes scanned the horizon, sharp and steady. We don't need forever. We just need enough time. Behind them, muffled shouts echoed from the blocked tunnel. The Empire's soldiers were digging through the collapse. It would not take long before they broke free. The girl's legs trembled. She had never left the city walls, never walked into the cursed ash fields. For her people, this place was death. The fields burned the lungs, swallowed the weak, and held. No food or water. But the human moved with purpose, as if he had walked worse places before. Keep going, he said firmly. She stumbled again, falling to her knees in the dust. Her hands turned black with ash, and tears stung her eyes. Why do you keep helping me? You could have run. You could have left me. The human stopped. For a moment, silence filled the dead air. He looked down at her with eyes that carried a weight she could not understand. Because I've seen this before, he said quietly. In another place, in another war. No one stepped in then. I won't let it happen again. The girl stared at him. His voice was cold, but beneath it she heard something else, pain, old and deep. Before she could speak, a sound broke the silence. A screech. The girl froze. No, not here. Shapes moved in the ash, crawling on broken limbs. Pale creatures, with thin bodies and glowing eyes, slithered out from the dust. Their jaws opened wide, showing teeth sharp as glass. The human raised his rifle. Friends of yours? She shook her head fast. No, ash beasts. They feed on the weak. The Empire throws prisoners out here sometimes. No one survives long. Beasts circled, their eyes fixed on the two figures. Dust rose in clouds as they crept closer, growling. The human didn't flinch. Stay behind me, he said. The first beast lunged. The human fired. The shot cracked through the silence, tearing the creature apart. Dust and ash flew into the air, but more came. 5, 10, a dozen. They swarmed, screeching and snapping. The girl cried out, covering her ears. We can't fight them all. The human fired again and again, his rifle flashing in the dark haze. Each shot struck true. Each beast that leapt fell broken. But for every one that fell, 2 more came. The girl tugged at his arm. "We have to run." The human's jaw tightened. He glanced at the beasts and at the hills of ash in the distance. A plan formed in his mind. He grabbed the girl's hand and pulled her hard. "This way." They ran, their feet sinking deep into the dust. The beasts followed, shrieking, tearing through the ash. The girl's heart pounded, her breath sharp and painful. She thought her legs would give out, but the human never let her fall. The ash fields rose into jagged hills, sharp stone cutting through the black dust. The human dragged her toward them, firing behind him as he ran. Beasts fell, but still they came. At the base of the hill, the human stopped. He looked up. The slope was steep, but climbable. The beasts would have a harder time on the rocks. "Climb," he ordered. The girl shook her head, fear in her eyes. "I can't." He shoved her forward. "You can go." Her hands shook as she grabbed the stone, pulling herself up. The rock tore her skin, but she climbed. The human followed close behind, his rifle slung over his shoulder now. One hand pulled at the rock, the other reached to steady her. Below them, the beasts screeched in fury, trying to climb. Ash slipped under their limbs, sending them falling back, but some managed to hold on, clawing upward. The girl screamed, "They're coming!" The human climbed faster. His arm wrapped around her waist, lifting her higher when her strength failed. His face was grim, sweat and dust covering his. Skinned out at the top, they pulled themselves over the edge and collapsed on the stone. The girl gasped for air, her chest heaving. The human rolled to his knees, raised his rifle, and fired down. The shots cracked the rock, breaking loose chunks that tumbled down the slope. The falling stones crushed the beasts below, sending them scattering back into the ash. Silence returned, broken only by the girl's shaky breaths. She looked at him, eyes wide with disbelief. You saved me again." He didn't answer right away. His gaze stayed fixed on the ash fields below, watching the dust settle. Finally, he spoke, voice low. "This isn't just about you anymore. They saw what happened in the pit. The Empire will send more. We just started a war." The girl's eyes widened. Fear mixed with something else, hope. "What do we do now?" She whispered. The human checked his rifle, then stared into the horizon. In the distance, faint lights flickered outposts of the Empire, burning against the dark sky. He tightened his grip on the weapon. "Now," he said, "we fight." The hunter becomes the hunted. The girl's legs still shook from the climb. Dust covered her face, and her hands were raw from the stone. She pressed them against her chest, trying to calm her breathing. The human stood tall at the edge of the hill, rifle in hand. His eyes scanned the ash fields below. The beasts had retreated into the dark, but their screeches still echoed faintly. In the distance, "They'll be back," the girl whispered. "Maybe," the human replied. His voice was steady, calm. Too calm. "But they're not the only danger out here." The girl frowned. "What do you mean?" The human pointed across the horizon. A faint light glimmered in the smoke-filled sky. It was not the flicker of ash. Fires. It was sharper, colder, artificial. "The Empire's patrols," he said. "They saw the beasts gathering. They'll know something happened, and they'll come looking." The girl's blood ran cold. "They'll track us?" "They always track," he said. His voice dropped lower. "But this time, we'll make them chase the wrong prey." They moved quickly, climbing down the other side of the hill. The land sloped into a valley of stone, jagged and sharp, where black smoke curled from cracks in the earth. The heat rose in waves, making the air shimmer. The girl's every step was heavy, her body weak from fear and exhaustion. But the human guided her, always steady, always pushing forward. Suddenly, the ground beneath them trembled. The girl gasped and stumbled. What is that?" The human froze. His hand gripped her shoulder tightly. Not what? Who? From the smoke ahead, shadows appeared, tall, armored figures, their glowing helmets cutting through the haze. Empire soldiers, hunters. The girl's heart raced. They found us? The human's jaw tightened. He pulled her back, hiding behind a rock spire. Slowly, he peeked out. There were 6 soldiers, each carrying shock spears that buzzed with deadly power. Their movements were precise, cold. They were not just guards. They were trackers. The girl clutched his sleeve, her voice shaking. We can't fight them. We'll die. The human's eyes stayed on the soldiers. Then we don't fight like Spect. The hunters spread out, scanning the valley. One knelt, pressing a device to the ground. The screen flickered. They're close. The soldier growled in his alien tongue. The girl trembled. They can smell us out? The human crouched lower. His mind worked fast, piecing the terrain together, the cracks in the earth, the smoke vents, the unstable stone. He saw not just a battlefield, but a trap waiting to be sprung. He whispered to the girl, "Stay behind me. Do not move until I say." Her eyes widened. "What are you going to do?" He checked his rifle, then gave her a look that was both hard and strangely gentle. "Turn the hunters into the hunted." The soldiers moved closer, their weapons humming. Their leader raised a hand, signaling the others. Slowly, they surrounded the rock spire, but the human was gone. The girl covered her mouth, trying not to cry out. Where had he gone? Then, a crack-sharp loud. One of the soldiers fell, smoke rising from the hole in his armor. The others shouted, spinning around. Their glowing helmets scanned the dark. Another shot. Another soldier dropped. The girl's eyes widened. He was moving. Fast. She saw glimpses of him in the smoke appearing for just a second, firing, then vanishing again. The soldiers' shock spears lit the air, but their strikes hit only shadows. Panic spread among them. The hunters stumbled, breaking their formation. Cowards. Their leader barked, "Find him!" But the human was already behind them. A blade flashed in the smoke. A soldier screamed, collapsing as his armor split open. The girl gasped. She had never seen anything like this. He was not just fighting. He was hunting them. The last 3 soldiers grouped together, backs pressed close, their weapons raised. Their breathing came quick, their movements tense, and then the ground shook. The human fired a shot into the earth. The crack split open, wider, releasing a surge of smoke and fire. The soldiers stumbled back, blinded by the haze dot in the chaos. He struck. One by one, they fell. Silence returned, broken only by the hiss of smoke and the girl's ragged breath. When it was over, the human stood over the last fallen soldier. His face was expressionless, but his eyes burned with something she could not name. The girl stepped out from behind the rock, her legs weak. You killed them all." He reloaded. His rifle, his voice quiet but sharp. They were never here to capture, only to kill. That's what the Empire does. Her hands trembled. She looked at him with both fear and awe. You fight like them. No, worse. You fight like something more. The human's gaze lingered on her. His voice was low, almost a whisper. That's what they never understood. Humans don't just fight wars. We survive them, and we learn. The girl swallowed hard. Deep down, she realized something chilling. The Empire thought they were the hunters. But now, humanity had returned to the galaxy, and the galaxy was prey. The price of mercy. The valley was silent again. Smoke drifted through the cracks in the eye. Earth, curling around the bodies of the fallen soldiers. The girl stood frozen, staring at the human. His chest rose and fell slowly, his rifle still warm in his hands. She whispered, her voice trembling, You killed them all, without mercy. The human turned, his expression calm, almost cold. Mercy is a luxury, he said. Out here, mercy gets you killed. The girl hugged herself. The image of the slaughter burned in her mind. She had hated the Empire's hunters all her life. But seeing them die so quickly, so brutally, shook her. She wasn't sure if she was looking at a savior or a monster. They moved on, deeper into the valley. The ground grew hotter, the cracks wider. Sometimes they had to leap across glowing fissures, the heat searing their skin. The girl finally spoke again. Do humans always fight like that? The human glanced at her, his eyes unreadable. We fight to win, not to impress. Not to waste time, just to survive. Her throat tightened. She wanted to believe he was different from the Empire's soldiers, that he had saved her out of kindness. But the memory of his blade, flashing in the smoke, made her shiver. By evening, they reached a ruined outpost. Rusted towers leaned against the wind, their metal frames screeching softly. Old banners of the Empire still clung to broken walls. Torn and blackened by ash storms, the human guided her inside. We'll rest here. The beasts won't come close to iron. She sat against the wall, exhausted. He lit a small fire, his hands moving with practiced ease. For a moment, the heat comforted her. The silence felt almost safe, but then faintly, she heard it groans, weak, pained groans. Her eyes widened. Did you hear that? The human's head snapped up. He was on his feet instantly, rifle raised. The sound came from deeper inside the ruins. They followed it carefully, step by step. Finally, they found him an Empire soldier, half buried under rubble. His armor was cracked, his helmet broken. His chest rose and fell shallowly. The girl gasped. He's still alive. The soldier opened one eye. He saw the human and fear filled his gaze. The human raised his rifle. The girl grabbed his arm. Wait, his voice was sharp. He'll kill us the moment he stands. Her grip tightened. He's dying. He can't hurt us. The human's jaw clenched. His finger hovered near the trigger. The soldier coughed, blood dripping from his lips. He whispered in his language, weak but desperate. The girl didn't understand the words, but she understood the meaning. He was begging. Her chest ached. Please, don't kill him. Not like this. The human turned to her, his eyes hard. Do you know what mercy costs? Tomorrow, he tells his commanders what he saw. Tomorrow, he comes back with 20 more. And then he pointed at her. You die. Her voice cracked. But if we kill him now, we're no better than them. The human stared at her. For a long, tense moment, neither moved. Finally, he lowered the rifle. Fine, he muttered. But his blood will be on your hands if he lives. The girl rushed forward, pulling the rubble away from the soldier's body. She found a flask of water in the human's pack and held it to the soldier's lips. He drank greedily, coughing between sips. His eyes flicked to her, then to the human, still standing with his rifle ready. Why? The soldier rasped. Why? Spare me, the girl swallowed. Because mercy is not weakness, it is strength. The soldier stared at her, confused. His kind had never heard such words from prey. Later, as the fire burned low, the girl curled up against the wall. The soldier lay unconscious nearby, his breathing steadier. The human sat apart, sharpening his blade, his face lit by the firelight. The girl finally asked, Why did you let me decide? The human paused. His voice was quiet, but sharp. Because you needed to understand something. Mercy is not free. Every choice has a cost. One day, you'll see if the price was worth it. She hugged her knees. Deep inside, she knew he was right. But part of her also believed something else, that if humanity had truly lost its mercy, they would be no different. From the empire they hated got outside, the wind howled through the ruins. And far away, beyond the ash valleys, other soldiers would soon notice their missing patrol. The price of mercy was already on its way. Ashes of betrayal. The night passed heavy with silence. The girl barely slept, her mind filled with doubts. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw the human's blade flashing in the smoke, or the broken soldier's eyes as he whispered for mercy. When dawn came, the human stood already awake. He scanned the horizon, his rifle ready. The girl stirred, her body stiff from the cold ground. The wounded soldier still breathed. His armor clinked as he moved weakly, groaning with pain. The human's voice was cold. "We should leave him. He'll slow us down." The girl shook her head quickly. "We can't. If we abandon him now, then saving him meant nothing." The human's eyes narrowed. He didn't argue, but his jaw tightened. By mid-morning, they moved again, the ruined outpost shrinking behind them. The human led, his movements sharp and watchful. The girl followed, helping the soldier limp along, his weight heavy against her shoulders. It slowed them. Every step felt longer. Every sound in the valley seemed louder. Finally, the human stopped. He pointed to the ground tracks. Not beasts, not wanderers. Boots. Soldiers. The girl's heart froze. "They're close," the human muttered. "He's leading them to us." She shook her head. "No, he's too weak. He hasn't told anyone." The human's reply was sharp. "You think mercy has no cost? Look behind you. The cost is already walking beside us." By noon, the heat rose, waves of ash swirling in the air. The soldier stumbled, nearly dragging the girl down with him. The human's patience snapped. He seized the soldier by the collar, slamming him against a rock. "Tell me the truth," the human growled. "Did you call them? Did you signal them?" The soldier gasped, pain shooting through his broken ribs. His eyes darted between the human's knife and the girl's terrified face. "I didn't." He rasped. The girl rushed forward. "Stop. He can barely stand. How could he?" The human leaned closer, his blade inches from the soldier's throat. "If you're lying, if they find us, I'll cut you down myself." The soldier closed his eyes, too weak to fight back. The girl pulled the human's arm away. Her voice trembled, but she stood firm. "If you kill him, then I was wrong to believe in you." The human froze. His glare lingered on her face for a long, tense moment. Then he lowered his blade, but his eyes burned with silent warning. That evening, as the sun sank into the haze, they found a cave hidden behind jagged rocks. The human ordered them inside. The fire burned low, shadows flickering across the walls. The girl tended to the soldier, washing his wounds with what little water they had left. The human sat apart, silent, sharpening his blade again. Finally, the soldier spoke, his voice rough. "You think I betrayed you, but I didn't. I swear it." The human didn't answer. The soldier coughed, struggling to breathe. "But they'll come anyway. Not because of me. Because you're here, human. They fear you. They want you dead." The girl looked up, eyes wide. "Why?" The soldier's lips curled in a faint, bitter smile. "Because one human killed an entire legion once. Alone. They call him the Ash Ghost." The girl's gaze flicked to the human sharpening his blade. She whispered, "Is that you?" The human did not look up. He didn't answer. That night, thunder shook the valley. Not from the sky, from the ground. Marching boots. The girl's stomach dropped. She crawled to the cave's mouth, peeking through the rocks. Shadows moved in the ash storm. Armor glinted. Dozens of soldiers. "They found us," she whispered, her voice breaking. The soldier she had saved turned his face away. Ashamed. The human rose, his rifle in one hand, blade in the other. His voice was low, steady, and terrifying. "I warned you. Mercy has a price, and tonight you'll pay it." The girl's heart pounded. "What are you going to do?" The human's eyes glowed faintly in the firelight. "What I was trained to do." Outside, the Empire's soldiers fanned out, closing in on the cave. Inside, the human crouched by the fire, silent, his hands moving with calm precision. As he prepared his weapons, the girl clutched her chest. For the first time, she wasn't sure if she feared the soldiers outside or the human standing beside her. And as the first enemy torches lit the cave walls, she realized something. The human wasn't just a fighter. He was a storm. And the storm was about to break. The storm unleashed. The cave shook with the sound of marching boots. Shadows grew longer, stretching over the stone walls. The girl pressed her back against the rocks, clutching her chest, her breath sharp with fear. The wounded soldier groaned, weak and broken, unable to rise. The human stood still, his rifle slung across his shoulder, his blade in his hand. His eyes burned in the firelight, cold and merciless. "They've come," the girl whispered. The human gave no answer. He only moved forward, slow and steady, until he stood at the cave's mouth. The first soldiers appeared through the ash storm. Their torches glowed like hungry eyes. Their armor rattled as they fanned out, covering the entrance. One of them shouted, "Human, you cannot run forever. Surrender, and maybe we let the others live." The human's laugh was low, dry, almost mocking. "You came for me," he said. His voice carried through the valley like steel scraping stone. "You should have brought more." The soldiers raised their weapons. The storm broke. The human leapt from the cave like a beast unleashed. His rifle roared, every shot tearing through the storm. The first row of soldiers fell before they even understood. He moved like smoke, vanishing between rocks, striking from shadows, his blade flashing in the red glow of torches. The girl crouched inside the cave, her body trembling. She had seen him fight before, but never like this. This was not survival. This was destruction. The Empire's soldiers shouted, panicked, trying to regroup. But the human cut through them like fire through dry grass. "Stay down," he barked. Into the cave, his voice sharp. The girl obeyed, dragging the wounded soldier deeper inside. But even as she pressed against the wall, she could hear it, the screams, the clash of steel, the gunfire echoing like thunder. The wounded soldier groaned. His eyes were wide, filled with horror. "He is the ash ghost." "It's true." The girl turned to him. "What does that mean?" The soldier swallowed hard. "It means no one here leaves alive." Outside, the storm raged. The human drove his blade into one soldier's chest, then spun, firing into the line behind. His movements were too fast, too brutal, blood-stained. The air reeked of smoke and fire. The Empire had sent dozens. Soon, only a handful remained, backing away, shouting orders that no one followed. The human's face was a mask of fury, his eyes cold, his breath steady. He advanced like death itself. The last soldier dropped his weapon, falling to his knees. "Please, Mercy." The human raised his blade. "Mercy died long ago." The blade fell. Silence returned to the valley. Only the wind stirred the ashes. Now, the girl stepped out of the cave, her legs shaking. The ground was littered with broken bodies. Torches flickered weakly, half buried in blood and dust. The human stood in the center of it all, his chest rising slowly, his blade dripping red. His clothes were torn, his face cut, but his eyes still glowed with the same fire. The girl whispered, her voice shaking, You killed them all." The human turned to her. His voice was calm, almost empty. "I warned you. I was made for this." She looked at him, not with fear, not anymore, but with sorrow. "You saved me," she said softly. "But what about you? Who saves you?" For the first time, the human's gaze softened. He looked at the girl, and the fire in his eyes flickered. He sheathed his blade. "No one. That's not how this story ends." The girl shook her head. Tears welled in her eyes. "Then let it end differently. Don't just be their ghost. Be more. Be human." The human stared at her in silence, the storm inside him battling the words she had spoken. Finally, he turned away from the battlefield. "We need to move. More will come." The girl ran to his side, taking his arm. For the first time, he didn't pull away. Together, they helped the wounded soldier out of the cave. The valley lay silent behind them, filled with ashes and blood. But as they walked into the storm, something new burned in the air. Not just fury, not just revenge, not hope, not because one girl had whispered to a human warrior, and he had listened.